everyone, Janie here, and today I'm going to be sharing a fun and creative candle making technique with you. There are all kinds of things you have around your house that you can use as a candle mold or a candle holder. And recently you saw me use this milk carton that I cut down and used as a mold for making this candle. And you can use a paper bowl that, they have kind of like, I want to say wax, but it has a coating on the inside. Makes it easy to peel off afterwards. So it's not like you leave your candle in that. You mold your candle in that. Same thing with paper cups. And then for candle holders, if you just wanted to make your candle in something like this, then jars are perfect, empty tin cans. And these are things that we all have around our house. For the candle that I'm making today, I'm going to be using this bowl and aluminum foil. And then also, I'm going to be using crushed ice. Okay, and I have a reason for the crushed ice because I'm not putting it in the candle. That's a whole different technique. But I am going to be using it kind of to hold things in place. And of course, you can always do that by using rice or sand or pebbles or even dog food. Okay, whatever it is you need to do that. And so I'm going to be getting a piece of aluminum foil. I don't know how much I need, and I'd rather have too much than not enough. So let me tear that off. And I'm going to be putting it in the bowl, okay? And then I'm going to use this jar here just to kind of flatten the center out, kind of to create the base so that the candle sits nicely, okay? And then, sorry about that, the angle of the camera and my hair are kind of in the wrong place. Okay, so I've got that on. I've got the aluminum foil out of the way. And now I'm going to just take some of the crushed ice and put it around inside here. And I don't want to put too much because I don't really know how much I'm going to need. But I'm going to get that in there. And then I'm just going to kind of shape this out a little bit. Okay, I don't want it to be perfectly shaped. I want it to have some texture and dimension. And that's kind of where the ice comes in. So now I go, okay, I can put a little bit more ice in. And I said same thing if you're using rice or sand or dog food, whatever you're using. I'm using ice because I want the candle to solidify quicker. Okay, so let me get that in there. Okay, and I'm just going to try to give it a little shape down in there. Like I said, I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. And then I'm going to kind of fold these edges over so that I know where the edge of the bowl is. Okay, that's kind of important. I don't want to put in so much wax that it goes floating out onto my table. Okay, so I've got that done. Now let me get the wax ready. I almost forgot a step. I have to get the wick put in. And so I've got my wick here, and I've got a little sticky thing to hold it in the bottom. Now the way that this is set up, I can't put in one of those wick holders that go across. My bowl is too wide for what I have. And I do have something that I will be using. Just give me 1 second. Where did I set that? Here they are. 2 really big craft sticks that will sit across and hold the wick for me. But I'm not going to use those yet. So now I'm going to get the wax ready because I'm going to be adding a little dye to it. Okay, so I'm not pouring it all in at once. So I'm just going to pour in a little bit right now, and I'm going to let that set a minute. And in the meantime, I'm going to put a little bit more wax in here because I kind of want to lighten up the color a little bit before I pour the next layer. Before I do the candle reveal, I just wanted to show you that I learned this foil technique out of these two books that my friend Gina sent to me. And she is Perfectly Imperfect Crafts by Gina here on YouTube. And I just thought that this technique sounded really fun and creative, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. But I wanted you to see that I didn't make this up. I learned it out of these books. Okay, it's time for the reveal. I have already removed the water from the bowl, so I am not going to spill that. I'm just going to kind of lift this out and set the bowl aside. And I am very carefully, because I can see that I already broke one of the skinny pieces. So this is a lesson to be learned, and honestly, this is my first time making one of these. But I think you need to be careful about getting too skinny of a piece coming out, which is what I did there. And I think when I was trying to lift it out of the bowl, I broke it. But it's okay. So, and while I'm at it, I've mentioned that I learned this from those books from Gina. But what I didn't mention is that the wax that I used is also from her. She is such a sweet friend, and I guess she is no longer making candles and knew that I enjoyed making candles, so she sent me the wax and the books, and I can't thank her enough because I'm absolutely having fun with all of this. Okay, we're down to the bottom. And I am so afraid of breaking this. Oh, I know what's stuck to the bottom. It's the wick. The wick is stuck to the bottom. So I'm going to have to tear the aluminum foil off right there. Tell you what, let me do this off camera so I can flip all of this over, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the foil off, and that was it. It was sticking to where I'd stuck the wick down. And while I have it upside down, you can see that it is darker on the bottom and it gets lighter as it goes up. And that is the look I was going for. Kind of like an ombre gradient look. I wasn't going for a layered look, but I wanted this to actually look like a pond. And so the water is always darker on the bottom and lighter on the top. And so that was the look I was going for. And let me clip the wick down, and then we'll look at the candle just a little bit more. So there we go. So it has a really cool shape to it, and all the way around. I really love this foil technique. It is so creative, and there are so many possibilities with this. In fact, there were some things I wanted to do that I should have done while the wax was still melted, and I did not. But if I can successfully get that done here, I will come back and show you here in a minute. Have you ever wondered what to do with your leftover wax? You don't want it to go to waste. You can save it and remelt it. You can also add color to it and pour it into something like this. I have a couple of things. This one has, you know, the rectangles. I have one that has round openings. And I like to pour it into this because then I can break up the little pieces. I can use them to decorate candles with, or they could be melted again, or I could use something to cut shapes from it. So let me see here, pull this out. But that's what I like to do with these. So, you can use little tiny cookie cutters, and cut little shapes out. It's kind of a fun way to do it, and that way I don't have to decide right away what I'm doing with it. I can just, on this one I picked a color. You could just leave it, the plain wax. It's totally up to you. And this time I did something that I have never done. So I have these molds that I use for cold porcelain. And I decided to pour the wax in. And it was a challenge because I didn't have any little dropper thingies or little, anything small to get it into these little openings. I was pouring it in straight from the cup. And so I thought I would do some and kind of pop a couple of them out here and see how they turned out. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a sweet heart, little sweet pink heart that I can add to something. So that is good. I don't even remember what this one was. I think this one is supposed to be a macaroon or something. This is in my Paris one. So it's just a little thing, could be a little cookie on something. And over here I have butterflies. Oh, and I broke my butterflies. That is not good. Well, on the plus side, I can remelt those. So, but there is a sweet little butterfly that I can use. And I don't know how the flowers turned out. I'm not going to undo all of these here. I'm just going to, these I could pull sideways. You can see I overfilled them. These I think I underfilled, but I've never done this before. Like I said, this is kind of a new thing for me, is to put them in these molds. So a learning process. But I just wanted to give you an idea of, if you make candles and you have leftover wax, different ways you can save it. So just thought I would share that with you. So this is just an example of how you can decorate it. And as I had said earlier, there was something I'd wanted to do to it and should have done it, before the wax solidified. And I can still go back and do this, but I discovered I didn't have enough flowers to do it because these two flowers right here are not wax. Those are cold porcelain flowers that I had, so I sat them on here just to give you an idea. But I will make more wax flowers and I will put them on there. I was given an idea of how to do it without melting all the wax, so we'll see if that works. But I just wanted to show you that, and I also wanted to give you one more look at the candle because I really love the way that this turned out. So there you go. That is just one way to make a candle using foil as your mold.